Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick Podcast. And today we are going to talk about top 50 value players that you can get after pick 50. There are some tremendous names here. Very excited about this. And this is part of the reason why I never like to take wide receivers early, is because players like this are available so late. So anyway, definitely want to check that out. And here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick Podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
Hey there, friends. Before I begin, I just wanted to say, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to like this video, comment, share this video with your friends, and of course, subscribe. It really helps me out. I do appreciate it, and I love to hear from you guys. So any comments you want to leave, please leave them down below. Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick Podcast. And today we are going to talk about top 50 value players that you can get after pick number 50 in the fantasy draft. So these are value players. These are great options, and it really goes into my strategy of what I call the top 50 Dominator Strategy. You definitely need to know all these names because all these players offer upside. Now, before I begin with that, I do have some updates, and I wanted to let you know that I've actually added 2 players to my regression list as a result of what happened with free agency and the draft. So these are very highly rated players as far as your fantasy drafts are concerned, but I think I would steer clear of both of these guys come draft day, just because I feel the potential for a pullback in their output is substantial. So let's just get to it. I'm just going to tell you about these guys right now. Now, the first guy was one of my favorite fourth-round players from last year. Obviously, he had an outstanding season. Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not really liking his prospects this year. So we got Julio Jones returning. Excuse me, not Julio. Julio Jones returning from injury. So it doesn't look like they're going to trade him away. It doesn't look like Atlanta's going to do that, which I actually happen to agree with. And even though Julio is over age 30, he still can play at a high level. He can still be a guy that commands like 80 receptions, 80 to 100 receptions in a year. Certainly his over 1,000 yards. Who knows how many touchdowns? He's never been a big touchdown guy, but he can be like a 1,200-yard guy, even though he is in the decline phase of his career right now. But you got him coming back, and then you also have that they drafted the most highly rated tight end to ever enter the league, better than Gronk, Kyle Pitts. So you're going to have targets going away from Calvin Ridley, whereas last year they were like funneled to him because Julio was injured and Hayden Hurst really didn't pan out the way they were hoping. So, and we know that because they did not pick up Hayden Hurst's 5th-year option. So he's on a contract year. But anyway, I just don't see where the upside could happen for Calvin this year. Even though it is a contract year for the guy, I can see him taking a step back in the same way that Godwin took a step back at Tampa Bay. Again, with the addition of more targetable players, that they brought in Antonio Brown midway through the season, and so he's fallen back on the draft board. He clearly was not worth that 2nd-round pick last year. I see Calvin Ridley is kind of the same way this year. So I am going to be steering clear from him, although even though he has the regression tag, he still qualifies as a recommended player. It's just he's going to be farther down the list than some other players. Including a guy I talked about in my last draft, A.J. Brown, who is going to be way above him. But anyway, so he's one. And the other player that I'm very cool on, not really interested in, is Josh Jacobs, who, of course, you have Kenyon Drake coming onto the team there. And that really hurts his value, especially since it's always been the hope that he would develop into that pass-catching running back. Clearly, this move says that he's not going to be that. He is. I think Josh Jacobs is a poor man Derrick Henry, who But the thing is, he's on a middling team, not on a good team. So this is a team that's going to face more negative game scripts. He's going to be written out of the equation earlier than you would expect. Kenyon Drake's going to be the third down change of pace guy. So, where's the upside there? Now where he's going in the drafts right now, which is approximately in the 30s, early 30s, he's showing that he's kind of fair value, a little bit overvalued to fair value at where he's at. But I gotta say, man, I'm really not interested. He's not the kind of guy that's going to offer you what you need when you're talking a third round pick, which is when, you're going to need to take him in the third round if you want him. So again, I feel bad, but those are two additional players added to the regression list. They have the regression tag in my app now. And, so beware. So let's get to what I call the top 50 Dominator Strategy. And this is something that I developed last year. And basically my app, what it does is it takes the projected stats for the player, and it, calculates how many points they're going to get off of it based on how the league scores points. So that's a modifier. But then you can compare. Well, then they take the score and it then ranks out the player's value against all the other players. So you can actually get a nice apples to apples comparison to see, how does this wide receiver value against this running back? And one of the things that my app does is it also removes the quarterbacks and the team defenses from that ranking calculation. So in most draft tools, they don't do that. So what you see is when you have the value rank for players, the top 20 are all quarterbacks and maybe CMC. And so then you've got like the 21st best player, who would probably be someone like Dalvin Cook, but they have him valued as the 22nd most valuable player, even though he's the number 2 guy going off the boards in the draft board. It doesn't make any sense. You can't make any comparison. My app doesn't do that. You will see that, CMC, number 1 value, number 1 player. Dalvin Cook, I don't know if he's number 2, but he's like number 3 or 4, probably, or top 5 for sure. But you would see that, and so you'd really be able to compare it. And so when you see somebody with a value rank that is substantially better than their draft rank, wow, those are the kind of players you want to get. And so when you look at the top 50 right now, I've got 4 players for you that are available after pick number 50 that offer top 50 value. So these guys are great picks in the rounds that they're offered in. So let's just get right to it. So the first player I want to talk to you about is at pick 51. So he's right outside the top 50. But this, when we're talking, this is the 5th round of the draft. So you've already got 4 players on your roster. This guy's still available. This guy is going to give you solid wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, just based on the volume. But that is Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams. Now, I currently have Kupp designated as a bounce back player based on the fact that last year he only had 3 touchdowns on 124 targets. So that's not going to stay like that. If he continues to get that sort of volume, the dude is a lock for 6 or 7 touchdowns. That is great. That's going to greatly increase his value on the draft board against the other wide receivers. And so don't forget that he is a guy that did get 10 touchdowns in 2019. So this year, what I do is I have him projected right now. He's got 130 targets, and I got him projected with a line of 90 catches for 1,050 yards and 7 touchdowns. That would give you 195 points and half-point PPR, and that makes him my wide receiver 16 and the 38th most valuable player. So that is an amazing deal to get the 16th most valuable wide receiver at pick number 51. So, we're talking here early 5th round is when you'd see it. No, I'm sorry. Let's see here. At the 4th round, it's 48. So it's the end of the 4th. Yeah, end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th round is when you can get this guy. And if you get this guy in the 5th, holy cow, that's amazing. That is an amazing value. Absolutely worth the pick. And again, this is part of the reason why I don't like to spend early picks on wide receivers, because you got guys like this available so much later, and you can use those early picks on running backs. So anyway, he's the first guy, and he is the most valuable of this group. So definitely circle him on your draft board. Now, the next guy, this guy's getting no respect, and just based on his draft position. But I'm not surprised why. I mean, this is a guy, he's got an injury history problem. He is probably not going to be playing with his quarterback this year. But shoot, the dude is a wide receiver 1 on this team. The Houston Texans is Brandon Cooks. And I just got 2 things to say. And I know the dude has had a concussion issue his entire career. And so he gets this reputation that he's a guy that's injured a lot and misses a lot of games. But I looked at it, and over the past 6 seasons, the dude has played at least 14 games in every season. And he did 16 games 4 times. So I don't think he's an injury risk. I mean, obviously there is a risk. And he seems to have an issue with this. But we're talking a team that's probably going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. Constant negative game script. That means they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. Who's going to catch those balls? Brandon Cooks is the primary receiver on this team. I have him projected right now with 123 targets. So not quite as good as Cooper Kupp, but still, that's rock solid volume. Going 80 for 1,129 yards, 6 touchdowns. That would give him 189 fantasy points in half PPR. He's my wide receiver 21. And the thing about this guy is he is at pick 86. Pick number 86. That is like beginning of the 8th round. That is crazy, crazy value there. So I got to tell you, man, I think it's absolutely worth it to take a risk on Brandon Cooks. At this draft position, yes, please, let me have that. So, again, top 50 value player here. He's 46th most valuable player, 8th round. 46th. So, shoot. I mean, just go for it. I'm sorry, it's not the 8th round. It's the 7th round. I'm sorry. 7th round pick. So, again, still worth it. Still totally worth it for that sort of upside. The next guy is a guy who I don't know what his deal is, but I think he has some clause in his contract that says that once he hits 1,000 yards, he can just take the rest of the season off, because past 2 seasons the dude has come out gangbusters and just been a top 5 wide receiver. And then he just completely disappears in the second half of the season. But it's Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what it is. I don't know why maybe his contract says he only has to play 8 games, and then the rest he can just phone him in. Obviously DK Metcalf really came into his own in the second half of last season, really took over as the primary receiver. But I got his volume right now at about 117 targets, which is actually, that's a solid wide receiver 2 volume. But it's down. It's going to be down substantially from what he did last year. Last year he did 132 targets. He got 132. So it's not going to be as much. But I have him projected right now at 83 catches, 993 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's always been great with the touchdowns. 185 points in half-point PPR. Right now going at pick number 59. So he's easier to get than Cooper Kupp. If you miss on Cooper Kupp, maybe take Tyler Lockett. He is my wide receiver 23, 49th most valuable player in the league. So shoot, that is a gift. Take that gift when you can get it. Basically a full round of value by taking him where he's going in the draft. So anyway, absolutely worth it. The final guy is a guy I talked about in my last podcast who I really like. But he had a knee injury at the beginning of last season, missed the whole last season. Obviously is on an offense that has some issues, especially the quarterback position. But again, he is the wide receiver 1. He offers a substantial volume component here. It's Cortland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. And last year he was a guy that burned me, because he was a guy I took in several of my leagues. And of course he got injured week 1, didn't play anymore, didn't play after that. So he kind of wasted a pick, but he's getting this massive injury discount this year. Pick number 73. So, you can get him in like the 7th round of your draft. Easy. He's an easy 6th round, early 7th round pick. And right now, it's a contract year for him, which I love contract year players. If this guy can put together an outstanding season, why I love contract year players, man, the payday implications are enormous. He could see him going from like about $1 million a year that he gets now to, he could get 10 million, 15 million if he really puts together like a mass. I don't think that's going to happen, but $10 million a year contract is on the table right now. So if he can perform the way we would expect him to perform, yes, he can do it. And it's not like he has bad quarterbacks. They're just mediocre. You got Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. They're not great, but they're not horrible quarterbacks. And, we saw last year, Teddy Bridgewater, even though Bridgewater didn't himself have a very good year, didn't have a fantasy relevant year at all, he still gave fantasy relevant seasons to, Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel and DJ Chark. They all did very well, even though it was, limited opportunity. So anyway, that's my 4th guy, man. And so we got 4 players, all wide receivers, all available after pick number 50. So these are 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 7th round picks that you can get on your team. And this is why I don't like to go early on wide receivers, man. I don't like it because these guys are available late. And so again, one of the nice things about the app is these guys, the value bonus that they have from their location really helps them in their work score, which is the score I use to rate players. It stands for value, outlook, reliability, and consistency. Value, the first component, the most important component. And it boosts them having value like this. It boosts their score, which in turn moves them up the draft board when you're in draft mode. So it makes them easy to see. It makes them easy to recommend. And so that's how the app works. And like I said, I'm working on the app. Should be completely done in the next 30 days. But right now it's under construction. I mean, you can still subscribe. I do recommend going to my website, fantasyfootballmaverick.com. Right now, you can just sign up for free. Just go in there, sign up. You can access the app, and you can see some of the information on there. You'll see all the contract year players. You'll be able to look at that and stuff. But if you want to unlock all the features and full access, you need to subscribe. That's only $20 for a year, and it's unlimited access. You can use it in as many fantasy drafts as you're in. It allows you to customize the points scored, the players you want to see. There's a ton of filters available to help you with that. And I'm adding in a couple of new features this year, just some minor features that will help you sort and filter players in a different way. So you can just look at certain kinds of players that are of extreme interest to me to see where they are and where they're being drafted and such. But anyway, it's a great tool. It will absolutely help you in your fantasy draft this year. So I recommend you go over there and check it out. But anyway, that's it for today. So I think that's it. One other thing I wanted to say is there's actually 3 more players that I want to talk about that offer top 60 value that are also great buys. Robbie Anderson at pick number 83, Chase Claypool at pick 71, DJ Chark at pick number 76. So these are all middle round wide receivers that offer really excellent value. Those 3 guys, all flex value, all available after pick 71. That is such a deal. So anyway, that is it for the Fantasy Maverick podcast today. So I will be back again next week. We'll talk some more about fantasy, and we can talk about the schedule too to see who got the cushy schedules for this next year. I'm really excited to see what happens there. But anyway, that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and we will talk again soon. Have a good one.